Good morning, everyone, or good evening or afternoon, depending on which time zone you're in or how you're feeling on the cusp of the weekend. It is June 22nd, 2018, and we are here for How to Tell Your Story through video for people who don't know where to start. And Nathaniel, who's behind the camera right now, is going to be speaking in just a few minutes, but so he will be getting us to introduce ourselves. So, so happy that you got here. It's not always easy to get onto the UN compound or get online, so thank you for making the effort on the cusp of hopefully what looks to be a sunny weekend. I did a post in our Facebook group about, just under the umbrella of some quick miscellaneous things. Normally we rotate guest speakers and networking sessions. Networking sessions are where I introduce a topic and then people spend some time working in small groups. And I'd be interested, I got some feedback on Facebook, and I'd be interested in your feedback if you want more guest speakers or keep to the roughly 50-50 split. So think about that, let me know. This is our last meeting. We'll break for 2 months and then we'll start up again in September. So really open to your feedback for ideas of speakers, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. On Wednesday, the earth is going to shake and vibrate in a very good way, because after more than a year, we're flicking the switch on a brand new website for me, which has been a momentous journey. And I'm looking for, I don't have a lot of testimonials for the roundtable. I haven't actually asked for a lot of feedback. So if you feel called to, please leave some feedback online, or you can message me or do it publicly. If you want to fill in one of these sheets, I'd love to have some testimonials on the website about this roundtable, which has been running for 5.5 years. We've been meeting for 5.5 years. Know that those badges that you're wearing around your neck cost 300 shillings. So if you're able to, without it affecting your ability to participate, please donate the 300 shillings. And if you're able to, please, the suggested donation is 1,000 shillings. And you might say, Leanne, your math is off. What's the difference between 300 and 1,000? It's because we donate money to an educational group that you decide at the end of the year. So 100% of that money, less the cost for your badges, go to an educational group. And you can put your moolah in here, or you can M-Pesa me, and my number's on there. Are, of course, not included, but if I can just get you to pass that around. Thanks. And logistics, if the invitation was forwarded to you, that probably means that you're not on my mailing list. And if you want to be, or you're not sure if you are, just check with me at the end of the meeting. The more, that's it. Unless, any questions about our logistics, how we gather, how things happen here? Any questions off the bat? Okay, well, I'm going to turn it over to Nathaniel in just a minute. If you've been here before, you know that our practice is for the speakers to introduce themselves with your input. So I asked Nathaniel for 6 words that have stories behind them. And so you get to choose 2 or 3 of these words. And then he'll introduce himself using those words. So the words are lover, artist, chameleon, and they're up on the board if you want to see, wizard, warrior, and raconteur. So lover, artist, chameleon, wizard, warrior, and raconteur. And by the way, if you're online making comments, I'll get to them in just a second when I flip the camera onto Nathaniel. So what's a word there that piques your interest? Chameleon. Chameleon. Okay, so chameleon and raconteur, and one more? Wizard. And wizard. Okay, so wizard, raconteur, and chameleon. And I'd like to present Nathaniel. Let's give him a round of applause.
So maybe I can steal your HDMI and get me online here or whatever.
And by the way,
so maybe I can explain, what was it? Wizard, Wizard,
Chameleon and
chameleon, and raconteur. I am a chameleon because one of my strengths, I guess, is to be very adaptive. I can be put into any environment and I feel very comfortable, and I can adapt to a positive thing in my life, to be able to adapt to different cultures and different people and to be accepted as well. And I've been living in Kenya for 11 years now, and I've been taken in by a lot of really amazing people. That's my very beautiful girlfriend Phoebe there, who I'm crazy about. And then the Wizard, I've done a lot of really amazing things in my life, not to be conceited, but I've made a lot of interesting things happen, especially in slum areas of Nairobi. As a youth activist, I've been able to transform garbage dumps into vibrant places in the community where young people come every day and find opportunities and get to experience a type of unity that generally wouldn't be there as if those spaces weren't there. And also being able to, as a videographer, being able to make videos with no budget, my own equipment. Since the age of 9, basically I've been able to make something out of nothing. So people have called me a wizard before because I've been able to basically craft things with basically no resources. And the other one, raconteur. Yeah, I love telling stories. As a living in Africa for this much time, I feel like a lot of the media shows a lot of negativity about what actually goes on this continent. And from what my experience is, the positive is outweighing the negative. And there's so much positivity, and there's so many amazing people doing so many amazing things that I need to tell the positive stories, the nice things that are happening, because most of the time we don't see that stuff happening. It's very difficult to see the positive stories. So I like telling stories that make you feel good and change your perception about what the media is normally showing us of what's going on in the world. Because it's just one big wheel of negativity most of the time that's just being circulated. So I'm trying to counterbalance that negativity and my tempo. That's a kind of a brief introduction about myself. So I want to today I want to show you just a few things I've learned since I started doing video. How you can make something with basically anything. So just through a phone or any kind of camera that you have, and sort of the fundamentals that you need to think about when you're shooting these videos, what you need to think about so that you're gonna you have something nice to work with and make something that you're gonna be proud to share with your friends and put it online and hopefully to change people's mind or to teach them something. So that is a short introduction for myself, but I want to also get you guys, I want to learn a little bit about who is here. So I want to get some small information about your guys' self. Like first we can do your name. I like, these are kind of different senses almost, like if we can get a smell that reminds you of your childhood. One thing that you would still love to do in life, and of course, as a movie buff, I want to hear maybe some movie recommendations. If you guys have any movie recommendations, a nice movie that you think we should watch. So we can start, and I'll do it at the end. But maybe we can start with my friend Joan here, who's also a professional filmmaker. So I think we've got all different tiers of professionals here. We've got some people who has made a video here, who has shot video, maybe even if it's on their phone or
Facebook Live.
Exactly.
And if I can also just say, Nathaniel, please to the folks online, if you can answer these questions that you can see there, on the screen, I'll relay them to the group. So
For
we
sure, yeah, I was
really
gonna
want to
say.
bring you in and welcome you, and please feel free if you're comfortable to participate. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi, my name is Joan Poggio. I'm Colombian. And okay, a smell that reminds me of I have a very powerful sense of smell, and I can't recall like smells just happen. So like sometimes you'll be in a street and you'll smell something like, traveling around West Africa, I smell a lot of plantain, fried plantain. They love fried plantain, and that's something we used to eat a lot in my hometown, and it makes me really homesick. Something that I would love to do in my life. Well, I'm trying to do everything, but I think it's traveling. I mean, visiting new places. I'm really looking forward to going to Japan, for example. A movie everyone should watch. Okay, maybe a classic. A film with Jack Nicholson, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is based on the book, but it's a marvelous film, just like the book.
Thank you.
So my name is Samantha Nyabola. A smell that reminds me of my childhood. I was torn in between chapati. If you've been in Kenya long enough, you know chapati. Because when you are growing up, we'd only have chapati on special occasions, you know. Yeah, so chapati. And I was also thinking about, you know, when it's been dusty and then it rains, just rain. That's nice. Yeah. One thing I'd love to do in my life, I sing, so I'd love to continue singing. A movie, I'm really not a movie person, but when I think of a movie, I just think of Divergent. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Gloria. A smell that reminds me of my childhood, actually. Samantha did steal my answer. I still like that smell of soil when it rains, so that's what I'd say. One thing I'd love to do in life, sometimes when you get into career and you start being really busy, you don't always get to do some of the talents that you have. So I paint. I don't do that so much, and I keep saying I want to keep doing this. So that's one thing I'd want to continue doing. I do it just a few times once in a while. And then a movie that everyone should watch, I would say The Intern. I like that movie because I think it just makes me think about things differently. But this movie on The Intern is actually not the typical type of an intern. It's like an old intern, and you've already retired, then you're coming back, to support like an IT company. So I just always feel like it's teaching me something different, to see things differently, always be open to learning. So yeah.
Good morning. I'm Sharon, and what are we supposed to say anything else about ourselves besides this? Anyways, a smell that reminds me of my childhood is something called Nuc Mam. It's from Vietnam. I grew up part of my life in Vietnam, and just getting off the plane as an adult, going back to visit, the smells of the country just made me feel home again. And it had been 30 years, 40 years. Something I would like to do, which I don't know how practical this is, but I think it'd be cool to go and homestead in the US. It used to be that you could go live on land for 5 years and you get it for free. I don't know if there's still any land. I haven't really checked it out. But if not, then I'd like to have a cabin in the woods in Colorado and just take my dog. But my sister says that that's ridiculous because I don't like people too much. So, yeah. One movie that on Netflix now, it is about a woman who does music and who had put into a camp during the Holocaust, and all the psychological things that go on with that. It was played by Vanessa Redgrave. It was a true story, and at the time she was probably still pro-Palestinian.
Time for time, thank you.
Why did I sit here? Just like that.
Sorry, folks, can I just interrupt? We have a new technical glitch. This hasn't happened before. On our screen, the video is facing the right way, but when I'm looking at it on what everyone else is seeing, they're seeing it sideways, which that's never happened before. So I'm so sorry to the folks online. We have 9 people online right now. Folks, I hope you're not getting nauseous with this, moving it back and forth. Miriam, thank you for your patience there. And by the way, Donovan says that he has, he wouldn't say he made a movie, but he has a little bit of experience. And Nana, welcome Nana, says, hello everyone, my name is, I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong, Akenten. Nana, tell me if I've got that wrong. From Ghana, the smell that reminds me of my childhood is that of dust when it rains. Comment there. I would love to visit many places in the world in the future. The movie I would always recommend is Prison Break. Thanks, Nana. Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
My name is Catherine Mao. A smell that reminds me of my childhood, yes, spring and soil. And that is taken. I like the smell of wood in the upcountry when they do the fire. That smell reminds me of my childhood. A chapati that is cooked with firewood. One thing I would like to do in life, I travel a lot. I would like to do that. I like to do a bit of photography and art. Never gone to the art bit. It's still in my head. Yeah. A movie everyone should watch. Gosh, this is a tricky question. I think every time I was thinking about this, I was thinking of Gone with the Wind. And that one has disappeared, so I'm going to go with the Wind. I think that's it.
Thank you.
And if I can jump in and say, welcome Miriam, we're so happy you're here. She said, my childhood smell is definitely my mama's pancakes every Sunday morning. She still makes them for me every time I visit. Oh, nice, nice. Thanks Miriam, thanks for joining us online.
Hi, I'm Phoebe, and I'm Kenyan, and I'm speaking from my best. But my childhood smell, the smell that reminds me of my childhood is ash. So, because growing up, we did these 3 stones, so we cooked with those large pots, which we don't have anymore now. But I still like it. So, and the thing that I would love to do in my life is travel, go to different places where I've never been before and just learn different things. And the movie that I like is it's based on a book actually. It's The Girl on the Train, because it just brings out the things that we assume and characterize people that we don't know, and just normal things that we see in life that actually happen and we just ignore. So it just brings you back to reality and life.
Thanks, Phoebe.
My name is Halima Dube. A smell that reminds me of my childhood, curry, baked curry. I don't know if it's a Kenyan delicacy. You've been in Kenya long enough, so as soon as it's baked, that smell reminds me of my childhood. And one thing I'd love to do is to open up a school, because I'm an enthusiast of education and entrepreneurship, as well as empowering young girls within not just Africa, so that at least they can be able to empower themselves. So opening up a school is something that I'd love to do in life. A movie that I think So it's really sad. So it's something that makes us reflect about good neighborliness and loving each other enough to be able to accommodate each other. So that's something I think we should all.
Thank you.
My name's Amy. Smell would be cut grass. That reminds me of spring and summer, long beautiful summer days in the countryside where I grew up. One thing I'd like to do in life is see orangutans before their habitat is destroyed. Hopefully that doesn't come to that, but I'd like to see and sort of interact with orangutans. And I see the movie that would springs to mind straight away is Life is Beautiful. It had me in floods of tears. I'm not a crier, but that film completely destroyed me. It tells a story about this man who tries to protect his child from the horrors of the war, and uses tries to engage his son with through his imagination, to protect him from the horrors. And it's just a brilliant film. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicodemus. What reminds the smile of my childhood is all about fish. When it's being fried using the charcoal, I smell it while I'm in distance. And in my lifetime, what I want to achieve is all about traveling to engage with other worlds. We normally say we are under one world, but for me, I believe we come from different worlds, and I want to bring the first world near to my community. And for me, I normally want to bring the real change in what matters in my area of my living. The movie is all about fight, Chuck Norris. When I see people fighting, I think about what they need is not just fight, they need peace. In the area of my life, I'm also fighting because I have no peace in my community. Because when my people get the real change in what matters in their life, the peace will prevail. But for now, I'm still fighting.
I'm just going to quickly jump in. Miriam says, Shawshank Redemption is my movie to watch. It represents hope and freedom, two things which are close to my heart. That's from Miriam. Thanks, Miriam. Anyone else online, feel free to introduce yourself.
That's my thing, right?
Mom, are you there? My mom is watching.
And I think Doug's online too. Doug and Mom, feel free to introduce yourself.
So my name is Solène Brabant, and a smell that reminds me of my childhood is definitely the smell of the sea. So I grew up by the seaside, and it was not a touristic place at all at that time. So when I was 7 years old, my parents were letting me go by myself with my cousins on the beach. We were spending the whole day there, and it's a very windy place, so it carries all these smells that you can find in the sea, the seaweed, the fish, and I don't know, so many other smells, but this always reminds me of my childhood. One thing I would like to do in life, I don't know, I change ideas all the time, but these days there is a very beautiful platform for civic engagement that exists in France that enables citizens to actually make suggestions to improve things in society, and the platforms link up with institutions, private sector, NGOs to actually make this suggestion happen. So I thought it's a very beautiful concept, and when you look at countries like Kenya, where the youth is disengaged from the civic and political spaces, especially the young girls, and especially in the rural areas, I think carrying such a similar project, changing it a little bit, but would be a really, really good thing. So yeah, these days, that's my plan. And a movie everyone should watch. Movie, it's a French movie called La Reine Margot. It's the Queen Margot. It's from a book from Alexandre Dumas, who is a classical author. It's about the queen that existed in France in the 16th century, and it's about a knight called Saint Barthélemy, where Christians fought between each other. Catholics killed a lot of Protestants during this specific night. So I think it's very interesting on two aspects. First of all, the storyline, because we always look at the massacres that happen in the global south these days, but we also have our story. We also have our story of religious intolerance and others, so this is very interesting. And artistically, it's a very beautiful movie. How they play with the shadow and the light, the costumes of the actors, the way they play, everything is just a real artistic wow. It's really nice, I really liked it.
What's the name of that one again?
The Queen, I think it's La Reine Margot, so I guess in English it's the Queen Margot. Margot and, with OT at the end. Very beautiful movie.
Feel free to go into our Facebook group and make notes of your movies if you want to share the names. My name is Leanne, and I'm the founder and facilitator of this roundtable. And a smell, oh gosh, a smell from home has got to be the smell of cedar and pine trees. I grew up on the west coast of Canada, right by the ocean. So yeah, to this day, I miss those smells. And one thing I'd love to do in life, I'd like to, I'm launching some online courses, so I'd like to be, just dive into that deeper and learning how to teach online in really creative, engaging ways, not lecturing, so that's a big passion of mine. And don't judge me, a movie I'd recommend for sure is Mamma Mia, because I'm a huge ABBA fan, and it's so female-centric, and there's dancing, which is so, I love, love, love to dance. And can I say how excited I am that there's one coming out this summer, a sequel, so yeah, so that's me. Great, so we'll turn it back to Nathaniel, and unless anyone else, I'll keep track of the comments here, and we can see where we're at with that.
Okay, thanks guys, really interesting. I'm definitely going to check out those movies. I've seen most of them. Life is Beautiful, I'll definitely watch that again, because I watched it when it first came out. And that's a great movie. Okay, just a quick, I'm going to just talk like a couple minutes just about how I got into video and stuff like that. And I'm going to show you a demo reel of my newer demo reel. It's going to be a private screening because I haven't shown it to anyone and it's not finished. But so a demo reel is kind of all of your juicy bits that you've been shooting, normally over a year or so, and you put it together in a kind of a nice harmonious montage, and it's supposed to, you know, attract people to your skills and to your product. So I started when I was 9 years old. The first videos I used to make was with my friends after school. One of my best friends, his father had bought a video camera, and so we would go after school and just learn how to use the thing. He was a nice guy. He just let us use the camera, and we would go into the alley and try and learn how to do kind of magic tricks with the camera and make someone disappear and reappear. And then during school, me and my friend, everyone knew that we made great videos, so everyone wanted to be part of our group making videos because we always told our teacher, we don't want to do an essay, we want to make a video, and the teachers loved that. So we would always make videos for classes. I'm a skateboarder. I'm still a skateboarder. It's how I still get my fitness. And so I was always helping my friends film their skateboarding so that they could get sponsors. And so by 15, I was already making a bit of money by doing that. I was traveling, getting sent abroad and stuff like that to film people doing their tricks. And then when I graduated high school, I kept filming, but I was mostly working like 2 or 3 jobs, a lot of restaurants, just trying to get cash. And it wasn't very fulfilling for me, so I decided to go traveling, and I got invited to Nairobi, Kenya, to volunteer with a project. And with that, I was always filming, and realized that it was super helpful to raise funds and create awareness and make people understand about, you know, global issues, what's going on. And so I started getting contracts doing that. And I'm self-taught, and now I'm working for United Nations, making videos. So it's kind of a dream job for me to be able to do that. I still have a lot of ambition. I want to be able to work on larger production stuff. I want to use more, different equipment, and there's so much to learn. It's a lifelong journey, video, and not just taking video, but also crafting the story. So maybe I can just show you a quick, this is like, a good demo reel would take, it shouldn't be more than like 2 minutes, I think, right? So, and this is actually not finished. Do we have volume? We should maybe show it to them on the screen. Supposed to be credits at the end there. So you can there's one sort of unifying thing there is a lot of young people, you see a lot of youth, so I shoot for the youth unit for UN Habitat, so I've been able to see youth projects all over the world and see all of the positive impact that young people are having in this world, and it's always extremely inspiring for me to travel and be able to find the beauty of these young people that are doing that. And so through trying to learn these stories, or tell these stories, I've seen the importance of telling these stories. And stories is something that has been unifying us as human beings since the beginning of time. Before we had writing, before we had universities and schools, we told stories around the fire at night, and that's how we passed on our cultures, and that's how we passed on our traditions, was by telling stories to each other. And I think it's still the most important thing that can bring us together, and to how we learn about each other is through telling stories, and by telling our history to each other and our ideas. And so I think, for the first idea, what you want to do if you have an idea is you need to write it down. Make sure if you have an idea for a story, the most important thing, and by the way guys, I'm going to share all of this with you guys later. I have kind of a point by bullet points kind of thing that if you guys want, I can share it with you online, and I'll share all this with you guys after. So it's kind of the do's and the don'ts, and all the sort of things to remember that are really, really important. So the important thing to do is, first of all, you want to think of what's the feeling? What kind of story are you telling? Do you want to make people happy? Do you want to make people sad? Are you trying to get their attention so that they can also get involved? So you really have to think about that kind of feeling that you want to tell them, right? And that will help you understand how you're going to craft your story. And then when you're writing it down, that's going to be sort of the bones. That's going to be sort of the foundation of your story. If it's going to be text or if it's going to be someone talking, you want to use those words that are you're going to have either on the screen or have someone speaking, or that's going to be the foundation. And you want to make it simple, right? You don't want to make it very complicated. You don't want to have huge paragraphs of text. You want to just have something, just a few seconds on the screen, and because you want to keep the people engaged. And so when you're writing your story, you want to think about the images that you want to show. What kind of things are you trying to show in there? And you want to think of, you have to do that kind of planning, right? What are the kind of images that you want to show people that it's going to be able to get their attention, so that when you go out and you're actually you start to capture your content, that's when you already know sort of the images that you're looking for. And especially when you're writing it down, you make it simple, right? Don't make it super complicated. Make it like it's like you're almost explaining it to a 12-year-old or to your friend, right? Make the language easy to understand, so that also for a global audience, right? People who are not strong in English or in the language that you're making it in, or can understand it. And then when you're figuring out the story as well, try and think or find, are there other stories that have been told this way? Or is this an old story that you're telling, or is this a new story? And really, to be honest with you, you want to tell a new story. You don't want to tell a story that's been told over and over again. It might be something that you've seen before, but you need to put it's a storyboard. So the storyboard is kind of the story is the gold of people's attention by telling a really good story. Like my friend Joan here, he's a professional filmmaker, and he told a story. I haven't watched it yet, unfortunately, but I just got Netflix the other day, so I have it queued up. But he did a story called Gun Runners, and it's a story of Kenyans who were they were cattle raiders?
Cattle rustlers, yeah.
Cattle rustlers that decided to put their guns down and concentrate on running marathons. And I've got really good personal recommendations from that. So that is a beautiful story that's very unique, right? That story has not been told before. And a lot of, I can tell from that there's a lot of stunning visual images there that, keep you engaged and keep you watching. And so a storyboard, basically, you can do it as a kind of a comic book, right? You can be, a shot-for-shot list, basically, where you have squares written down. And I think this is, I'm just going to kind of run through this, and then we can figure out if we can make one. If someone has an idea for a story, or if you guys want to do your own individual ones, and we can work and we can kind of present them after, but we can figure that out after I go through this sort of step by step. And I won't talk very long because I don't want to bore you guys. But you just want to make sure for your story, what are the shots that you need to have to tell your story, right? What are the things that you need to show your audience for them to understand what it is that you're trying to show them? So that you have to get, so that they can understand.
When you're doing your videos for the UN, do you do research ahead of it, or do you go, say to Nepal or something, and take a bunch of different videos and then figure out a story? Like, how do you do that?
Right. So that's a great question. Of course, as much planning as possible is always great. The more planning, the more understanding you have of the environment and of the cultures, and especially security, because sometimes I go to places which are extremely dangerous, and the driver takes off with all of my equipment in the trunk of his car. And the UN generally just sometimes I'll come into the office and they'll say, okay, you're going to Indonesia tomorrow. Or sometimes I'll wake up and I'll have a plane ticket that I'll have to board in 4 hours. So I'll have literally be able to do no planning, you know what I mean? But
you should talk to your boss about that.
yeah,
Get
you.
His boss is my husband. Who's online? Doug, are you listening?
No, I love it because, like I said, I'm a chameleon. I'm very adaptive, and you can just throw me into a place, and I can make it work. So I think that's kind of where I've gotten where I am is because of those skills. But the more planning you can do, the better. The better your product will be, or that you'll be able to create something. But you also have to be able to, if you can just turn your camera on and start shooting, and be capturing your content, but still try to learn as you're going along what's going on, not just kind of running blindly, but so that you can craft something that's useful after, and you don't just have a bunch of garbage and you're scrambling to put together a bunch of stuff that makes no sense. It really helps to have an understanding of the local knowledge, and it really helps to have someone on the ground with you that can help explain and to help fix things so that you're comfortable.
Can I make a parenthesis there? Like, what happens when you're doing documentary, like Nathaniel is doing, and you're thrown into a situation, you then have to do your research on the ground, but with experience, what happens is that you become very intuitive in finding stories, and sniffing a story out and finding your character. And then, obviously in that case, you cannot make a storyboard, but what happens, a storyboard is like a comic book. So basically when you look at a comic book, when you read a comic book, you very easily understand a story by just looking at the images. But so when you can't make a storyboard, what you do is you get coverage. So when you're filming, you make sure you have like the different elements. So you can't film everything wide and then cut to another wide shot. Like if you look at a comic book, you have a wide scene and then a tight face, and then they show the hand. Or if you look at movies, so that's coverage. And basically a storyboard is teaching you or educating you into that idea of like, oh, after I have that beautiful vista, you have the tin houses, then you go into a tighter shot of a house, and then you see someone cooking. And
yeah, that kind of stuff is in the do's and don'ts that I've got for you guys. But from my experience, I definitely don't have time to always make a storyboard. Sometimes people are like, come and shoot this tomorrow, and I just get thrown into it. So you have to kind of know by experience what it is, the kind of shots that you need to get, and establishing shots, show the environment, come in closer, show what people are doing, show exactly a close-up, show the texture, show the face, who is it that you're doing. Audio is really important, understanding the kind of audio and of the environment, so that you can because it's all part of the audio and the visual, and the music is all part of the story. And so even when you're making the storyboard, you want to think about the audio. You want to think about the music that you're using, especially going over the narration, right? What's the like I said before? What's the feeling of the feeling that you want to give the people? And so I don't know if you guys have any more questions about storyboarding or anything. Please feel free to ask. But I want to also get into after storyboarding, when you start to go on the ground and you start to capture your content, right? And for me, I've used all kinds of range of different equipment. I've used really poor, crappy equipment, and I've used really nice, expensive equipment. And what it really comes down to, it doesn't matter about how expensive your camera is. It's about what it is that you're capturing and what the content is that you're telling it. So I always say content over quality, because we've all watched these videos that are viral, that someone maybe just shot on their phone, and millions of people are watching them, and it's a great. The content is extremely high because they're telling something that people are really interested in, and really something that's extremely captivating. And so it makes no difference if you have the best camera or you have some old crappy thing. It's just about the story that you're telling, right? For me, that's the most important thing. And when you're shooting, when you're on the ground, the camera should be like another person. It should be like another eye, right? The camera is literally an eye. It's a lens. And I actually forgot to talk about this, but before we had digital content and cameras, what did we shoot video on? Does anyone know? Don't answer this question. How did we make video before? How did we shoot video before cell phones and I have a camera here, I think. Before this, how did we make videos? Does anyone know? We shot on film. It's called celluloid, and we used to shoot on film. And some people are still shooting on it, but it's kind of a dying breed. And film, it came through photography. And what film is basically is the camera is capturing 24 pictures a second. And when you play that back, when you play the 24 frames per second, it makes a real life. It turns into reality. So really we're just photographers because we're taking 24 pictures per second. And the camera is just like, is an eye. We have an iris inside. And the more open you are, the more light comes in, and the smaller the eye, the less light comes in. And so you have to kind of know how to use the eye. And so when you're using the camera, you have to think about it as an eye of someone. You're not just standing there like this, but you want to be able to show, you know, what's happening and to bring movement and to bring the eye to life. And that's really important. Is you know, don't hold back when you have the camera. Feel free to move around and to to use the camera as kind of the extension of yourself. For me, the camera for me is like another part of myself. And when I'm shooting and when I'm taking video, it's like I'm with another person and I'm telling that story with a person. And I think some of the other things important, like people love zooming. They zoom in, they're from over there and they see something and then they just start to zoom in. Don't always zoom in, go up to where it is. Unless it's extremely dangerous and it's unsafe for you, go up with the camera and get close in, because it starts shaking. And you know, get close to what it is that you're shooting and really think about what am I shooting right now? What is it that I'm trying to capture with my camera? What is it that I'm trying to show? You know what I mean? And because that's really important, right? When you have the camera on and you're recording, you want to be able to feel like you're getting something that's useful. And when you're shooting something, normally if I'm just on the field, you know, I'll shoot something for maybe 20 seconds and I'll turn it off. Unless if it's a big event or there's something really powerful happening, I'll let it roll. But if I just see maybe a really interesting looking kid and he's hanging out there and it, you know, the frame is really beautiful, I'll just go and I'll take 10, 20 seconds and that's it. I'm not going to just sit there for 3 minutes and shoot that for 3 minutes, because it's not useful. Normally when you go into post-production, you'll use that shot for maybe 1 or 2 seconds maximum. So you don't need to shoot something for 1 million minutes and then, you know, you're using all of the data, right? You fill up. I have hard drives and hard drives full of all this footage that I've been taking. So you want to kind of narrow it down, but at the same time you want to get more content. When you're shooting stuff, you want a lot. You don't want less. You want to be able to have a bunch of content to work with, so that when you go and you start building your story, you want to have more than less, so that you're not stuck with, oh my God, I didn't get, you know, the house where the thing is happening. I didn't shoot the street where the party is happening outside. You know what I mean? You need to be able to get all of that stuff. So always be, when there's something going on, you should always be trying to get different perspectives and trying to get. One thing I need to improve on is getting more people engaging with the camera, talking and saying, you know, how do you feel about what's going on? You know, what do you think about what this is? Getting more people to engage with the camera. So I'm really good at getting shots and you know, nice things that are going on, but I would love to be able to, I think that's more of a personal thing with me, is to be able to interact easily with people, and it's difficult to put a camera in someone's face is not an easy thing, right? And a lot of people who can be really, you can see they're very strong and have a lot of confidence, but even when you put a camera in front of them, they turn off. So that's a really tricky thing, is to find the right person that can express themselves on camera. Is really difficult to find, you know, the right people, especially a nice looking face or a unique face is important, right? So those are really important things to think about. Maybe I can go through these do's and don'ts after, but I think that's the most important thing, is just feel natural when you have the camera on and you're rolling. You know what I mean? And important thing is steady. Don't be shaking like this, going like this, moving around. Keep it steady, right? You want to be keeping it still, and a tripod is really important. We have stabilizers. This is a form of a stabilizer here that we're using on the cell phone, which is extremely useful. Once you start using, we call it support, the production quality goes way up when you have that steady camera instead of the shaky handheld feeling. And so once you've captured your content, that's when you start, you bring it onto, now we use computers. Before we had splicers where we would take film and literally cut the film and put it together. But now we have digital content where I can just throw it onto my computer. I edit on this thing, and I start building my story from there. And it's kind of an overwhelming process when you start the editing process, because I always say it's kind of like getting put into the cockpit of an airplane and being told to fly this plane, because there's buttons everywhere, and you know, it's really easy to just totally get lost in there. But you know, and there's a whole range of editing software that's out there, there's a lot of free editing content out there, which I would recommend for beginners to download this free editing software, and just to try and get used to putting clips together and to try and tell a story, and to how to make it interesting, and you know, learning from your mistakes basically. And so, yeah. I did write that down. I do. There's so much free online editing software, and even the editing software I use is like probably I think $1,000 at least.
It's $230.
$230. Okay, but I kind of.
Is that a yearly thing? Is that a subscription, or is it an outright you buy the product and you have it?
Yeah, they're different. Like Adobe, who does Photoshop, is a subscription. There's everything on there. There are things that you pay once for life, and that's it.
Roddy, that is why I had a look for video editing stuff, and I found that a lot of the ones that were coming up were recommended the best free ones. They all had their watermark on. So once you pay, then you can use your material. So, and I tried the VLC. The video.
Yeah.
And you can like add stuff on that in a very basic way, but it only shows up when you use the VLC player. It doesn't show up, you know, when you use an alternative player. But I found it very frustrating because I was spending a lot of time looking for software that was free that wouldn't have a watermark.
Right. Yes, that is difficult. The water.
Okay.
Does everyone know what a watermark is? People know what a watermark is?
And also, can I just say, Jostis is online, and I know he's a professional videographer. Jostis, if you have any comments about suggested software,
yeah, please add.
Yeah, feel free to add them in the comments, and I'll let the group know.
And I can also share that information with you after. Halima, did you say? Yes. Yeah, I can talk to you after about that, I have my email on here too as well, so you guys can all contact me after, and we can discuss this further. So yeah, and basically, okay, editing is really the craft that lets you tell the story. So you need to have like I said, have a golden story, but then really what it comes down to is being able to craft it and put it together, and to be able to keep the audience engaged and keep them watching. And I've shot documentaries before that, 20-30 minutes at maximum, so I've not shot feature-length documentaries. A lot of unfortunately now people's attention spans don't last more than 2 minutes, right? So a lot of my videos don't go past 5-7 minutes maximum. Really, if you're shooting a short video, 3 to 5 minutes is really what you're looking for, right? To get people to understand, what it is that you're trying to show. And there's a few things that you need to remember when you're doing this. You want to make it kind of sharp and snappy, right? Keep the audience engaged. So you want to have nice shots. You want to keep the momentum going. You don't want to drag things going on for long, so that you can lose the people's attention spans. Because that's what I found is as soon as they don't understand what they're watching, or they don't, it's not very engaging, you lost them. They're gone, right? They need to be watching something that is actually interesting, and you got to kind of cut the fat, right? You might find it really interesting, but when it comes down to it, you can probably do without it. So a lot of times I kind of play the devil's advocate for my own videos, and I say, do I really need to have this in here? And most of the time, I'll just decide, what? I'll just cut that out. Like the demo reel that we watched, right? I have a lot of other really pretty shots and nice stuff that I'd love to share with people, but there's just only so much that you really want to share with people that, to keep them interested. And also when you're editing, you want to understand, what is it that you want to get out of your audience, right? That's when you're building your story. What is it that you're trying to get them to do? Are you trying to get them to get involved? Are you creating awareness? Are you just telling a personal story? Are you, making a call to action? And you want to understand, what it is that you're trying to get out of your audience, and that should help you be able to craft your story.
I just wanted to say that Yosas chimed in with Davinci Resolve, and he's made this comment on the Facebook group, so you can see it there. Thank you, Yosas. Davinci Resolve is a video editing program, and there's a version available for free. And he also uses Final Cut Pro. And Yosas is a pro at this. He's along with these two guys.
So Final Cut Pro is, probably in our opinion, the best video editing software that's on the market. It's really easy it's really great to use, because you kind of have, it's really hands-on, and you're able to basically do anything you want, right? You can basically, the sky's the limit, really, with what you can do with the video. So, and I'm always learning as well. I still watch YouTube tutorials how to do stuff, and because it's like I said, it's this career is a lifelong process, and it should always, in any career, it should always be about growth and learning and trying to improve your skill and improve yourself. That's a really important thing to remember.
Do you find that there's a specific need for a special type of computer with these programs? Or
Nowadays, computers are so good.
So a laptop is...
Yeah, laptops work great, desktops, anything. And I think they're even web-based editors. Like if you uploaded your clips to YouTube, you can edit in YouTube. It's like that's all. Everything is now happening in the cloud as well.
But as you can see, he has this is what we call an external hard drive. And so most of the time when you're doing a project, you want to keep everything on here and not on your computer, because normally we shoot on the file sizes are huge, right? And if you keep them on your computer will just basically start slugging along. So if you have it, you want to have it on a hard drive which has fast processing times, and you're able to edit right from there. And so you're not actually editing directly from your laptop or your computer. You're editing from a hard drive which is storing all of the content.
And I just want to jump in and say that Doug says, but you can also use iMovie on your phone for quick videos that are effective, and you don't need to be an expert.
Right. Yeah. So even there's editing software for phones. One of my younger cousins, when I was back in Canada, he blew my mind because he had the GoPro helmet cams. so we were skiing and snowboarding on the mountains, and he shot one of his the runs down the mountain, took the chip out from the camera, put it into his phone. We got onto the ski lift to go back up the mountain. He edited it on his phone and posted it online before the.
Oh, he was up.
Before we started our run again. So it was all he had edited it and posted it online even before he started to do his next run. So really, anything is possible.
Is it okay if I just jump in? I'm just curious for folks here, like why you came, like what kind of videos are you thinking of making?
I just wanted to finish that, and then that was sort of the next.
Okay, perfect.
The next part of this, because this is the last part, is sharing. What do you guys do once you've actually done the video? This is almost the hardest part, is getting it seen and showing it. A lot of times I was like, wow, this is the best video I've made so far, and then
3 people watch it.
Yeah. So and then another funny thing that I always laugh about is if I have a client and they're saying. They'll say, yes, for this product, we'll shoot the video, and then we'll post it online, and it will go viral, and then I'll sell a million products. And I said, okay, listen, I'm going to make you the video. Making it viral is going to be your job, because making the video and posting it online does not mean that it's going to get seen, and it's not. People just think that magically your video is just going to go viral, which is totally not the case. I find sometimes it's really I don't know. I don't want to say it's hurtful, but it's really discouraging sometimes when you work really hard on something and you post it online and it really goes nowhere, and especially when you finish you've done your final cut. And you've got the file there, and you upload it, and there it's online, and it's there for the world to see, and nothing really happens from it. No one engages you, no one talks to you about it, and you spend all this time on it, and it can be really, really discouraging, because this is my art, this is what I love to do, and then no one really gives a crap about it. And that's not always the case, right? Sometimes you get really inspiring feedback, which pushes you to keep going, and that makes the career worthwhile. But there's so many different ways to promote your video, right? There's so many different ways to show the story once it's online. And the main thing is that you have a strong network, right? You have to know other people that are doing similar things, that want to share your story. It's basically like who you know, right? And having a strong network of people that say, can you help promote my story, and they'll maybe have a website, or they can show it to the right people, and that's when it starts getting attention, is when you are getting it to the right networks that are going to help promote your story. So if you're interested in making videos, you should be knowing other people that are making videos, or other people in your field which are doing the same thing, that can share also what it is that you're doing. One of my favorite things that I do sometimes when I go back home in Canada, people want to see some of the videos. What I do is, so I put a big sheet in the park, and then I wait for the sun to set. And people come to the park, and I project my videos onto the sheet in the park, and we kind of make it a fun thing, and people really like that, and it's more personal, and people can engage with me and ask me questions, and then they go on and to share those videos. So making a screening is really fun, right? Even at home, you can invite friends over and get people over, and even people that you don't really know, but you'd like for them to see, you can invite them over. And do a screening like on a nice TV or something like that, and so make it a public or a private event, right? Like make the finishing of the video a nice event, right? That you want to share your story with.
We just have another comment from online. Doug says, video is now both an essay and a published story, which takes time to be polished, as well as a conversation, which is immediate sort of stream of consciousness. And each of those things have value.
You're so smart, Doug.
Well, like more, I think like the thing is like nowadays more and more video is being consumed in tremendous amounts. So
Yeah.
like it's so immediate, you know, like you go through Facebook and you see these 1 minute videos, and there's a huge appetite for that.
Yeah.
And which is why I think it's important, like if you want to have a conversation with people, with groups, with communities, like you want to disseminate information, video is the way forward, is the future, is the present, is the future. People are not sitting down and reading, you know, it's like you catch their attention and then they'll read.
There's a report floating around on the internet by Cisco. I don't know if you saw that in the invitation. They're a big consulting company, and they say that by 2020, like not even 2 years from now, that 80% of content online, 80% will be video. I mean, that is astounding, absolutely astounding.
I'm just looking. I wanted to see. It's apparently like 1 million minutes are uploaded to YouTube every hour or something like that. But one last thing about the video too is make a hard copy. Even like sometimes I just give people flash discs, my own flash discs. But I really love, because I'm really into visual design too, making a really beautiful cover and making a DVD. People don't really use DVDs that much anymore, but actually giving someone a hard copy is a really nice way to get people to share your story and to learn more about it. And so that's a very brief overview of what it really takes to create a video that you're going to be proud of sharing. And what Leanne was asking, I would like maybe for you guys to share maybe a little bit about what you would like to learn more about video, or what what you are looking to do, and we can maybe decide as a group if we want to. If people have their own individual ideas of movies that they want to work on, or if someone has a great idea that maybe we can all work on together, and kind of hash that out, and to kind of see what it looks like to plan to make a video, and the shots that you need, and what you want to think of. So maybe we'll start with my friend Joan. Maybe what his aspirations for video are.
Maybe
if he has any great ideas for stories.
Well, I'm constantly working on various projects at the same time, so that's complicated because, like, I always have projects. There are too many projects. There are not enough stories that I'm telling. But then you're always in the problem of like you're stuck finalizing other work. And the editing side and finishing a story is what really takes your time. There's so many things happening in Kenya, so many things happening in Africa. I mean, like, it's a bottomless pit of stories.
Yeah.
But I'm very interested in the human aspect, in telling stories of real people and their challenges, inspiring stories that can then move you forward, or can make you think, like, what am I doing? What's my purpose in life? I have an extreme fascination with human greed. I think that we're so greedy. Like, I feel I'm greedy myself, like you're gluttonous, or you want more money, you want more power, or whatever. And which is driving this planet to a point that we've not ever been in time. And so the stories I like to tell are reflecting on that greed. I want to, I'm fascinated by characters that come from a place of greed and then find a purpose, because I think we should be living a purposeful life. So more and more I'm trying to work on projects that have a goal of, like, it's not in your face, because it doesn't work like that. If you're telling people, you have to find a purpose, it doesn't ever work like that. You have to find stories as a storyteller. It's like the guy telling stories around the table. or telling a joke. You know, like if you tell the pun of the joke immediately, it's boring. There are some people that have this ability of keeping you engaged, right? That's it.
By the way, if folks, if you saw my blog post about, I've done a couple now with Marcia Shandour's work. Shandour is Shandur. She's a storytelling coach, and she talks about like what happens in our brains when people are telling stories. And she talks about how storytelling, you can fight evil using stories because you actually bypass the skepticism and the you know, if I talk to you about you know, it was a hot, you know, it was a hot summer day, the kind of day where
Dance party! Surprise! Surprise, everyone! Really? Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
guys.
if I say like, you know, I was so nervous, it felt like there was a golf ball lodged in the back of my throat, and my ribs felt like they were doing a tango with my stomach. The parts of your brain that if that happened to you, those same parts of your brain are lighting up. So it's a back door into empathy and understanding and bridging, and I mean it's incredibly effective. So Marcia Shandour talks about that, and I've written a couple blog posts about that if you want to check that out.
So cool.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you guys would like to share? Sorry, I missed your names.
Samantha.
Samantha and?
Gloria.
Samantha and Gloria.
Yeah. Just to mention, I did read the blog, and it's really interesting. He's saying, just how it's described. You know, when you really describe what's happening in the situation, people are really able to visualize and enjoy your story more. So for us, really, what brought us here is this year we're gonna turn 10, and we're seriously thinking about, you know, video, our storyboard, all these things we've been.
Sorry, what's turning 10?
Our organization is
Okay.
turning 10. It's Dignitas.
For people who might not know your organization, can you explain it? Because you guys do really cool stuff.
Yes, so we're from Dignitas Project, and we work in education where we basically empower teachers so they're able to provide quality education to students. So yeah, our current conversation in the office is just, you know, how to tell our 10-year anniversary story, and also we've not had so many videos. Probably had like 3 videos only, you know, in our entire journey. So we really want this to be like a major video that will really be able to, you know, inform a lot of people what we do, both new audiences and then current ones, and also just from a more basic side, our coaches, Samantha is one of the coaches. They're in the field every day. They're talking to teachers in the classrooms. They see what's happening. Sometimes they get like really amazing moments that we can't shoot with like a professional, you know. So we went to almost like really make it easy, you know, videographing, you know, from
So
the basics.
exciting.
So yeah, how do they just take images using their phones, those really simple moments that we're able to share online, just how people more engage. And as you're saying, this is people want to consume videos more. So instead of like writing how, you know, things happen in the classroom, people are probably not going to read what the amazing things are. Maybe they'll want to see how a student is engaging with the teacher, or how students are engaging with each other. So we wanted just almost those basic skills, because of course our coaches are not videographers. So yeah, how can they just capitalize on, you know, this opportunity where you have your phone and you have an amazing
Definitely.
And something, I don't know, have people heard of micro-learning? It's one of these big new trends in learning, like little tiny segments of learning. And I wonder if this could work for you guys. I mean, part of what you talked about seemed to be sort of promotion marketing, which is fabulous. And you might be interested, so when I was switching over my database to this new program, Active Campaign, I'd get stuck a couple times on how do I do this thing or that thing. And I was blown away. I'd go onto the chat and they would send me a video that was like 5 seconds long. So it was like a thing of their screen with the arrow saying click here, you know, as opposed to go to the 3rd button down on the left-hand side. No, not that one. No, the light purple one. Not, you know, and I got a couple of these micro videos, which aligns really well with this trend of micro learning. So that might be something to think about too, is can you make some micro videos? You know, and what would those subjects be about?
And also, like, I'm here, like, I want to meet all of you guys, and I've got my email. I'll be handing this out. I've got my email and phone number here, right? So if you guys ever have any questions about videos, you know, maybe you start doing something, like, I'm your guy, right? And maybe him too if he wants to hand his stuff out. But yeah, we're geeks about this stuff, right? So we love talking about this stuff, and if you guys ever run into any issues or anything like that, then you know, feel free to contact us.
And I'd also encourage you to have that, you know, if you want to have a one-on-one conversation, that's great. Also think about doing it in the Facebook group so that other people can benefit from the kind of questions you're asking or the resources that you have to offer. Yeah.
Look, one thing like I'd like to mention is that people have this idea that you need like fancy big camera to tell their story, right? And the fact is that these telephones, you know, like generally speaking, they have very good cameras compared to what we were shooting with, like when we were shooting on analog video in the 80s. That was really, really, really crappy stuff. And so all you have to do is, like Nathaniel was saying, you just hold it steady. You know, if you don't have a microphone, the telephone has a microphone, so you're close to your subject to get the voice. And when you're getting big shots, you just stay still. So like if you have something like that, or otherwise, you just put it on a table and don't move it. And you can tell amazing stories. I mean, there was a film that played in Sundance, shot on an iPhone.
Wow.
And it got into competition, you know, like, there are kids like in Kibera, they made a film with a telephone, and it got the attention of BBC and CNN and all this, because what they really wanted to do is tell their story. That's not gonna, the camera's not gonna stop you. Like, we were playing with cameras when kids, you know, they were really crappy, but it didn't matter. We were just telling a story, you know.
The phone is great, but the one thing to remember is the space. Like I like the camera on my phone, but the internal memory is very small. And it can be really tricky. You've got your messages, you've got all the WhatsApp videos and everything like that. So if you're gonna start shooting on your phone, a good thing to remember is at least having a decent amount of storage, or getting a memory card that can carry a heavy amount of video.
Or use your Google Drive, you know, like I pay $2 a month and I have 100 gigabytes. So their online services, I mean, everything is moving to the cloud, right? So
Yeah.
Flickr, you can upload a terabyte. If you open a Flickr account, it's free. It's for photography, but a Flickr account will automatically back up your pictures and video to the cloud, and it's a terabyte for free.
Wow.
You know?
If you haven't heard of Flickr, it's like the word sounds, but without the E. So is it an I? Is it
F-L-I-C-K-R.
Yeah. And also YouTube. Does anyone here have a YouTube channel? Because you can be up and running in less than 5 minutes. And one of the things, hi Faith. Faith has just joined us online. You're so welcome to be with us. You can upload directly from your phone to your channel. So that can really help with that storage problem, right? So like you were saying, your cousin going up the chairlift skiing, he edited the phone and he uploaded it to YouTube, and then you can take it off your phone. So it's safe, you've got lots of memory still, and it's super fast. And the editing on YouTube is amazing. It's absolutely,
Really?
It's so simple.
That's one option.
And something relatively new on YouTube is you can have polls. Has anybody ever watched a YouTube video like that says, tell us which one is your favorite, the green chair, this is a bad example, but the green chair or the red one, and in the upper right hand corner you can vote. You can put that onto your YouTube videos easily, right? Super easy.
Would you like to share maybe some ideas, or?
So, I don't have ideas. I'm really here because I'm a guidance counselor at Wildstone Academy, where Leanne's son goes.
Cool.
And one of the things that is happening is that they are starting to do their essays, or allowing essays in video,
Right.
instead of just written essays.
Mhm.
So that's a kind of a newer kind of thing that's happening.
Hmm.
And we're also having a video editing kind of class
Oh, wow.
that's happening. So I just wanted to hear some things, get some input, you know, so that I can reiterate it and maybe get somebody to come and speak at my college.
Well, my question from that would be like, how do you find the teachers are they doing it? Is it actively going on? And the kids are submitting essays and videos, or?
Well, I'm talking about college, university applications.
Oh, I didn't catch
is,
that.
is what I was talking
Oh,
about.
wow.
Some of the classes, yes, they are.
Yeah.
They're doing, instead of an essay, they're doing like a group project
Right.
in video.
Right.
Or you can choose that as an option.
How old are they?
High school.
And I would be interested in seeing how the teachers are marking those videos. 'Cause-
Yeah, and I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. Yeah, we should talk more.
And
Cool.
and also maybe if it's helpful, do you want to just brainstorm a little bit about how you might be able to use video yourself? Would that be?
I don't see myself doing anything.
So I've had the benefit of being in a couple
Maybe when
of
you're in the log cabin.
There we go. I'm in my log cabin.
you know, I've had the benefit of being in a couple of Sharon's orientation, not like okay, it's time to start applying for universities and colleges, and they're super interactive and fun. And the thing that just came to my mind is maybe you could shoot a video, and you don't have to be in the video. You could be the video is your eye, and just like video the journey, right?
That's
Because
kinda cool.
you're chasing kids to fill out like
Good
this
idea.
thing and that thing, and you could have like a red flag, like you lift the red flag and you're waving the red flag, in front of the camera, like if you don't do this form, like just something like you're so gifted at that, being funny and charming and stuff, and
Thank you.
maybe there's some room for a video there that
Maybe. Yeah.
builds capacity, right? It's
I'll
easy, you
get
can
on
use it
that
year after
since
year.
it's September.
Yeah.
But you'll be there.
yeah.
Maybe Michelle didn't introduce herself. You weren't here for the introduction, but
Welcome.
Michelle works with me at UN Habitat in the youth unit as well, and she helped Leanne organize today. So thanks a lot to both of you. Do you have any insights or any ideas or what you want?
I was just supposed to help with the registration.
Sorry, Michelle, you did the badges.
Yeah.
Okay, we've not met before. Okay, thank you. So the fact that you're in here is one of the many. There's a lot of people that are involved in getting you onto the compound, and Michelle is one of them. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks to you. Yeah, and the Youth and Livelihood Unit and UN Habitat. And actually, this workshop seems quite helpful for me as well, because right now, yesterday actually, I've been brainstorming on ideas for the new social media campaign for the Youth Day, which is going to happen in August, on August 12th, and there's going to be a celebration here on August 10th. And I've been thinking about how to design the campaign, because the topic is safe spaces and what safe spaces mean to youth, digital, civil, public safe spaces, etc. And I've been thinking that I could use video for that, because I've been also learning that video increases interactivity on Instagram. I don't know where you're going to publish your videos, but on Instagram they have this relatively new logarithm since, I don't know, a while by now. One is really sure how it works, but I've learned that videos can push your content up on the feed. So I've been thinking maybe doing short videos where you ask the youth, what does safe space mean to you, and maybe do a few exemplary videos could work well to increase interactivity and awake interest within the youth. To also then, the idea I had is probably they're gonna do small videos or pictures as well and answer with certain hashtags, and hashtags can also increase interactivity if you use good hashtags with your work on social media. This will also increase your outreach, and of course, as already mentioned, partnering with organizations that are active in a similar work as you. I don't know if you all have social media presence, but that is a huge step for outreach and interactivity. Yeah.
And can I also just jump in? Doug's made a comment. He's saying, and by the way, Doug's in Cambridge, Massachusetts right now. So how cool is that, right? These tools are just, it's amazing. We've had people, someone was supposed to be on live today from China, but she got a job interview. So we've had people, from all over the world be able to join in on these videos, which is so cool. So Doug says, WhatsApp is a great way to share video. It's one of the fastest growing social media platforms. and conversion to other platforms is an issue. Not sure what that means, Doug. Like taking your video off of WhatsApp and using it other places, maybe?
I think what I've experienced is like once you've got an actual edited video and then making it a WhatsApp video and having it a WhatsApp video where you're sharing the actual file can be really tricky. So a lot of times what I just do is I just send the YouTube link because the WhatsApp only likes a few very particular file sizes, so that it's been even tricky for me to figure out how to share videos that are not like 100 megabytes, that are easy to download for people and that will play on their phone even. So yeah, I think that might be what he's talking about.
Okay, Rania just joined us. Welcome. She's probably in the Middle East somewhere. Rania, I'm not sure where you are right now. Welcome. Yeah, and I was just another note about YouTube videos. Another cool thing they have is amazing analytics. Like I've never seen such analytics. Like you can tell it graphs the participation in your videos. So you know how at the bottom of a video you can always see 5,000 people have watched this video. But if you're the owner of that video, you can go in behind it and there'll be a graph of where people stop watching. Right? I mean, that's super helpful information to have, right?
I know when someone is going to call, because I have like my portfolio online, and I know when someone's going to call because there's a spike in viewing, and then I see like, I've had like 100 views in one day, and so I look and I see like, they've actually seen 25 videos. And so then I go and I look and it's like, okay, this is from the UK. And then in a week time, sometimes I get an email.
You're seeing your metrics on YouTube or
I have a Vimeo account.
Vimeo, okay.
Which is a professional YouTube account.
Yeah.
And you can even tell like the town, and like you're saying like how much of the video they watched, and I know like, okay, maybe someone is going to call. And then I get emails, like, we're interested in doing this in Kenya, and we saw your profile. So like, these things work, like they really do work. So you can exploit them, totally exploit them.
Well, let's change that word, exploit. Use.
Greedy videographer.
And by the way, Rania says hello. She's in Vancouver. It's 1:30 in the morning there. And she specifically woke up to see if we're on live.
I guess that's why my mom is not replying to me, because she's probably asleep, I guess.
Yeah, Nathaniel's mom's in Vancouver too. So let's just give a big shout out to Rania. 1, 2, 3. Woohoo! And everyone else online. 1, 2, 3. Woohoo! Okay, great.
I still want more thoughts from, I think you're next.
The reason why I was interested, I've done some commentaries for sensitization for counseling. I'm a counseling psychologist, so to get it noticed here, I did a few of sensitization programs.
Nice.
But now that was with TV stations, and the viewing was more, so we started with analog, then some of them are digital. But I've never actually taken an interest personally, so I was like, let me give it a thought and see how I can play around with it. I can actually do it.
What were you thinking of specifically in terms
mostly even when we do the sensitization questions, afterwards I get follow-up questions of people wanting to know more. How does this work? What techniques can we use for relaxation? And majority of the people in the society can actually not afford the services. Just a few tips for them would help. And personally, I actually don't like, I like YouTube.
Yeah.
Some information, there's a lot of information there. So wanting to find out if I can actually reach out masses to some sensitization and awareness.
So I have a story for you that you might particularly appreciate. Hang in there with me. When I lived in Canada, I used to go to this social media conference twice a year. By the way, Nathaniel, your mom says, "Hey, Nathaniel and everyone, I'm still watching and enjoying the workshop."
Thanks,
Yay,
Mom.
Moms are amazing.
My mom is awesome, by the way.
And they talked about this beauty salon that did little clips of the people, like the people who were going to give a manicure and a massage, whatever. And they did a clip of the person who does the bikini waxing, right, taking off all the hair. That one went crazy. And they're like, why this? And they realized because it's so intimate, right? And a person, if you're going to let someone in your nether regions, they wanted to see that person's face. So I could see videos of, because especially if you're getting frequently asked questions, you could just do a really short clip of someone asking you those questions, right? And anticipating the barriers, right? I don't have enough money. People are going to think I'm sick, or I'm embarrassed to see it. You could just do a really quick, video about that and help people relax and see your lovely face and persona and do the field a great service, right? It's like almost like a public service announcement that counseling is a great thing and very helpful. Yeah.
Phoebe?
Mine is for personal stuff.
Phoebe, can you talk louder so they can hear it?
The stories that I want to tell, that probably I can't do that because I'm not very good in being on camera, but at least now I know what I can do to tell my story, and it's good to know that video is the future. It helps in fight crime and all this things. We've seen videos on YouTube that go viral that pinpoint stuff that is going in the society, and if it wasn't for video, you'd never know that these things are happening. So it's encouraging to get people to take videos and know how to do them and things like that.
And I would very gently challenge your assertion that you're not good on camera. And also to know that in shooting video, you don't have to be on camera. You can be the person behind. You can be narrating. I mean, your voice is so soothing and relaxing. If you don't want to show your face, you can, you could just speak. Yeah.
I personally don't like being on camera as well. I much prefer to be behind the camera than being in front of the camera.
Well, for me, I've done short videos on YouTube, and as well personally for my phone and other purposes. Usually I do it as lectures because I'm into education, entrepreneurship to be precise, and as well empowering young girls. So in terms of taking up entrepreneurship and being able to understand how to be economically sustainable. So what has been a challenge for me is actually making these videos fun, because usually most of the time it's 5 minutes and you have to talk through, and so it's a bit boring. So I wanted to make it probably engaging and just to capture audience and as well to make an impact. So that's my biggest challenge at the moment. So hopefully this will be something that I'll be able to learn and take it home, at least be able to make real change and impact in life. So.
Great.
Thanks,
Christine has just come online. Welcome, Christine. And for folks who've just recently come online, we're just going around the room talking about how you could see yourself using video. So Annie, Rania, Christine, Doug, anyone else online, if you want to share in the comments section about how you could envision yourself using video, please feel free to share.
I help a charity in Tanzania. I have been doing their social media, and I'm actually working on helping them develop a new website. But as you point out, video is the future and the way forward, and all social media outlets are pushing for it for content. So I want to be able to, when I do go there and visit, I want to be able to produce something that's worthwhile, engaging, and tells their story. Lets people understand what's being done, how the money's being spent, how the kids are benefiting. And I guess, yeah, doing a good job of that, getting involved with editing and software that works. And also, actually, I have a few questions with regards to sort of, I guess, privacy or how you deal with sensitive subjects and people who are particularly vulnerable or very, very young. Have you experienced things where you've dealt with kids who wouldn't necessarily be able to give permission to be on the film? Or are there scenarios where because you're filming on the fly, you think you had to make choices about what you publish and what you don't publish? And that was what
Great question. Great question.
Address here, potentially.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when I'm working with larger organizations, you have to sign get them to sign a waiver of consent, so that they're allowing you to publish their content. I recently finished a short documentary. It's kind of a fundraising film for two. They're actually my friends. They're also skateboarders who lived on the street, and then through the skateboarding community were able to help get their school fees paid for and get off the street and find accommodation, and basically had their lives transformed. But I was just shooting with them in the street, you know, and it was just a kind of a friendly agreement that, you know, I was going to help them tell their story, and that, you know, I was going to be kind of following them around with the camera for some time. And
you've never had experiences where you've come unstuck, or people have maybe objected to the way they're represented, or you know, editing and that kind of thing?
no, I haven't, because I'm really personal about that kind of stuff, and I'm really sensitive towards, especially, you know, like I said, I want to tell positive stories. So the last thing I want to do is to shed negative light on someone, or to show someone in a way that isn't necessarily true, or to try and twist the story so that it's maybe has more of a twist, or, you know, more of a, what's the word I'm looking for, like a shock and awe kind of factor, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think you have to be really sensitive towards that, about, you know, being truthful and honest about the story, and I'm also really sensitive about, you know, shooting around kids, and you know, making them, you know, feel comfortable about having an adult, you know, taking videos of them. And I definitely would not just go to a playground and start shooting video on a playground, and I'm just kind of on my own, right? You have to kind of be aware of the environment and make people feel comfortable and safe around you.
But I don't know if this is something that it relates to. Are you worried about like the security or like people's identities? Because that happens sometimes, you know. Like I have done filming for Human Rights Watch, and filming where you can't really show the subject because I mean they're having a security issue. So like in situations where you want to shoot something, tell a story, but you can't necessarily show people's faces, you have to think of it creatively. And then, so you have to find visual allegories or metaphors that will help you. So you can work with tight shots, or you can work with silhouettes, you know, like, you have to imagine like, how can I tell this story in a way that it's evocative? Yeah. Now that's challenging because it requires creative thinking, and that's where something like the storyboarding comes very handy, because if you sit down and, for example, you sometimes, like I travel and I don't have the time to do the research. What I like to do is, rather than get off the plane and start shooting straight away, is I speak to people first, and if I have 2 days, sometimes I'll take one whole day without filming and making them feel comfortable and really learning their story, right?
Super
and seeing like, okay, what what's the main narrative here? What is the powerful story here? And then if I'm limited with like, you know, like what I want to film, I cannot film it in one day. I really sit down and I think, and I'm not a good painter. I just do stick men, and I just draw like, oh, so he's in bed, and then we see the alarm clock, right? And then we see, you know, I'll put the camera on the floor and I'll just see like his feet land on the slippers, and then you see the tap opening, and you see the kettle boiling. So I try to think of like, yeah, and with the sound, and you hear the kettle, and then, you know, so you start thinking like on a story. This is where like, I mean, the storyboarding really helps, and it really helps if you look at comic books, because comic books do that, you know, like if you're gonna get into that kind of storytelling, you look at comic books and they...
How to break it down.
They break it down and they trigger your imagination, you know, so like you don't necessarily have to see things as they're happening, because sometimes you don't have a chance to get that. So you have to work on like visually, when people see this, you know, like the kettle boiling, that's the idea of having tea, you know, or starting a morning. So that's a way of working around that.
Yeah.
Cool. We only have a few minutes left, so
Yeah.
if we can just...
Can I add a very short comment?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I'm just going to jump in. So Kenton, who, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, I think from Ghana, says, my organization provides access to ICT computers, this is so great, to rural schools, and it would be great to capture the reaction of these kids seeing and touching computers for the very first time outside of textbooks.
Definitely.
Can you imagine? I mean, I get goosebumps just like that. Would be, that's so visual. It's just, yeah, thank you. That's such a great idea.
It's like those videos of like colorblind people. I love watching.
Yeah. Yeah, or people, or people that hear for the first time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
Mr. Nico.
Yes, and for me it's so empowering, because when I recall my video being created by Global Partners for Change, it brings me back to my goals, and that's something which I've been looking forward in terms of when I'm doing my events, I'm running events. But it created some fear in me, because by the time it was done by Global Partners, it had more things, more about media, more about cameras. So it created me that fear. How will I get all this equipment so that I may be using it to my events? But I've realized that I can use my phone.
Of course.
Because I played one of music about Tuatunze Walemavu. And when I shared with people, many of them commented about it. So I'm thinking to be using video storytelling when I'm running my events, because for now I run an event known as Saidia Mtoto Mlemavu with diapers and sanitary towels. So I think it will create impact even to the community with whom I want to work with. So it's so empowering.
Great.
Yes.
Thanks.
Wonderful.
That's fear now. When I had today you are going to come to share about video telling, I said I must attend.
So you have videos. You've already made videos.
For me now, I've not. What I've been using is of taking pictures and sharing.
Right.
But that one is not now touching to people.
Right.
Because the way my friend, the way you have said it, all about reading, people are not interested now in reading. They want to see something
visual.
Through seeing, they have to comment, they have to see what this guy is doing to the community. Yes.
Rose just joined us online. Welcome, Rose. We're so happy you joined us.
And Soleil?
Yeah, just before I say why I came here, just a short comment to what you said. When you work also with vulnerable people, you have to have a discussion with them. Like I work on gender-based violence, and sometimes we have survivors of gender-based violence who want to testify or just to share their stories. But like very recently, a young woman was she was raped by her brother-in-law, and then she wanted to share a story because now she has overcome the trauma and she wants to share this. So she said, put my name, I'd write this and this and that. But then we had a discussion. I told her, you need to know that it's not just the NGO community that is going to read. It was an article, it was not a video. But it's also your family, your own community might see it. And she had not realized that. After she realized that, she told me, then I'm going to change my family. So that they cannot recognize me. So it's important. Sometimes people do not realize the impact that it can have in their personal lives. So it's important to touch upon this issue.
It's a great point.
Otherwise, I came here because I was interested both professionally and personally. I'm myself working on advocacy a lot with the youth. So they use videos a lot, but sometimes it's like way too long videos. It's like it's like what happened earlier. It's like upside down. So I think it can really help them. Then we also go to different events of the AU or at different levels, national, regional, also with religious leaders. And I think these are, if we are able to develop very short videos like this, and I've actually uploaded iMovie like a month ago on my phone, downloaded, sorry, and you know, during these events, which are policy events, you can also make very short videos and put them online and actually reach out to decision makers. You can do advocacy using these videos. So this was very interesting for me because we do not use this at all for the moment, and I think it will be very interesting. And then personally, because you know, when you have to attend weddings or things like that, you know, you want to make videos, you want to do some.
Well, why would you be thinking about weddings, Savannah?
I'm getting married this summer, and we want to make a video like because we're organizing from here, so my parents are doing a lot, so we want to make a funny video like saying like we are so tired, but actually it's this nice. So that's this whole thing also with the storyboard is very helpful. I'm going to start working on it on the weekend.
You know what? Like talking about like the wedding video. So like, if you want to do videos for like your work, you know, there's nothing that teaches you better how to make good videos than making your own fun videos. You know, like that.
That's a good point.
Because then what happens is that, you know, you want to make it funny, and you see like, it's not funny, it's not funny, and you'll find a way of making it funny, and you're learning how to use the tools. You're learning how to speak the language, you know, and then when you do professionally, then you have that experience. You go like, this is not working, and you can figure it out, you know.
So I'm handing out these. There's some bullet points that I used for the talk, and then the kind of the useful thing is on the back, and that's kind of the do's and the don'ts. That I find very useful when I'm thinking about how to make a video. So I don't know, I don't think we have much time, right?
Yeah, just a couple minutes to close. And
Great.
Nathaniel, can you upload this document, either email it to me or can you upload it to the
Exactly,
to the
so I'll
group?
be sharing this with the group too, so that people can have that. And I would love, I don't know if in the future, maybe you guys, like I would really love for you guys to get in touch with me. If you guys are going to make videos and stuff like that, you know, if you want a little bit of mentorship or something, you can also check out my, I have a website which is down right now because I'm pretty hopeless with that website stuff. But I do have a YouTube page, so I've got a very wide range of different kinds of videos that I've made on there. And so if you look at those, you'll get an idea of the different kinds of types of videos that you can make that are, you know, very easy, and you can get an idea as well of you know what it takes to get all that stuff there.
I'm passing my email around. If you want to copy it, I'm happy to.
That's so great.
This is a good list.
So can we just acknowledge, and that's a very, very kind, generous offer from both of them. I mean, that's just so nice. So thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having us, and thanks a lot, Leanne, for bringing us together today.
Just one question. There was a lot of talk about storyboards, and I'm just wondering, do you have like if someone wanted to make a storyboard, could you recommend a template that someone could fill in? Do you have such a thing?
It's there. I mean, I think it's the main thing for storyboard is is really understanding what a storyboard is, right?
Okay.
And it's basically you are like it's organizing the story, and it's basically again like a bullet point of the content, with the list of content.
Okay. Oh, I
what
was
it
thinking
is that
like
you
a
want-
visual graphic. Okay.
What you want in there.
Okay.
Like what Joan said, you know, is a comic book is a great way of learning how to create a storyboard. So I don't know if you guys know, there's a Kenyan, this is how I learned Swahili, but there's a book called Shujaz, the heroes, Mashuja, and that's a great local guide that can show you, and it teaches, it's all kind of local knowledge and awareness, and that has great little comics in there, and that's also a really useful way to learn how to create stories. So definitely best way to learn about storyboarding is by looking at comics, Tintin, Asterix, like those are great comics, you know, and there, I'm sure, you know, I could definitely go online and probably find some templates and stuff like that,
Something
and
else.
how to break it down.
Or an example, like if
Yeah. Another thing that you can do is like, you know, like there's endless imagery on Google. So you can find images that are close, like nowadays, like when directors are they have to present a treatment, and they say it's my video is going to look like this, and it's going to look like that, and the locations are going to be like this. You just go to Google and you search, and you can then visually, then you can start having an idea like how it's going to look. You know, if you don't have the imagine, I'm just going to show you. I uploaded this the other day to my website, but like let me do this other one.
Faith
Like
saying
my
hello.
this is a storyboard I
What
did
here?
for a project of mine. Oh yeah,
HTML?
I would need this.
Oh, great.
And if it's possible to share the link, I don't know if this is one thing when you're looking for images and stuff. Just make sure that you have the license to use them.
Oh,
So they're professionally
No, mine is a
they're
different
licensed for
one.
professional
So that's
use. Folks, maybe what I'll
But like that's
okay.
you see, like they're really doodles. You know, there's nothing. They just sketch people.
Joanne, can you just put it this way so we can just get a real quick look?
So it's anything that will
So
give
cool.
you
That's
an
so
idea,
cool.
you know.
And if it's appropriate, because I know intellectual property is a really big deal. We don't want to have anyone share anything that is inappropriate. But if
No,
you're
that's
comfortable,
that's my website. I have
okay.
like
Oh, great. So if you could put the link in our group, that would be great.
sure.
Okay.
So
Okay.
anything like, you know, some people don't need a storyboard; they just see it in their head. But like Nathaniel said, when you have an idea, write it down. It's the same thing, you know. Like you have sometimes you get inspired and you think like, oh, it would be great to get this shot. If you don't want to write it down, you just draw it. You know, even if it's thick figures, anything would help.
Okay. I'm just going to close with a couple of very quick comments, but before that, let's give Nathaniel and also Joanne, who had lots of great additions, a round of applause, please. And I'm just going to ask Selene to say a few words.
Yeah. Okay, I've been charged to thank you for the presentation and to give you a card that is actually right next to you.
Oh, okay.
Oh wow.
But I think I can speak in the name of everyone and I say thank you very much, and I think it will help us all professionally. I've heard a lot of professionally, but also personally. So I think it's really good that we can grow both professionally and personally when we come and attend that kind of workshop. So thank you.
Merci.
Avec plaisir.
Thanks, Selene. Okay, and I'm going to give this over to Nathaniel, and I'm just going to close with a couple of quick things here. Can I have the...
HTML.
Yes, that.
Oh, this one, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so just a couple things. Oops. Sorry here.
Also didn't share this one for
Okay. So there's lots of resources online. Feel free, if you haven't already. I put every single meeting for 5.5 years is online. And you can find that in the link in the agenda. There's a database for a contact list. We decided right when we started to meet when you'll notice when I email you, I don't share email addresses, but feel free to add your name to that contact list so people can get a hold of you and join the Facebook group if you haven't already. Just want to ask quickly, is there anything coming up in your community that you want to share? Any community announcements? Any events coming up?
International Youth Day?
Woo!
Yeah, you hit that one, I think. August 10th, we're going to have a commemorative event here, and Youth Day is on August 12th. So if you are going to organize an event, let us know. That would be very cool.
Yeah. Great. And maybe if you want to put that note in the Facebook group so people know how to contact you, that would be great. If you haven't already, the donations is there. Feel free to M-Pesa or drop it in there. We generally meet the third Friday of the month, unless that day falls on a holiday. And our next meeting is actually in September, September 21st. And I came across this, what I thought was just such a great website yesterday. So this actually isn't on your agenda because I just added it. But I wondered how you would feel, and feel free, people online, to let me know too, to start off in September with a networking session on, if you've heard of Simon Sinek's work, he has one of the most viewed websites or TED Talks, and he talks about finding your why, which is basically how to find your vision, kind of your passion, your curiosity. And he has this lovely workbook that, he's got a book on it and a workbook, which I have. And my thought was I could share highlights from that, and we could work on, helping you find your why. And then this website is all about helping you vision, but multimedia-like. So I thought it kind of hooked in nicely today. So it's not just an inspirational quote, but it could be using all these different things. So I know that's a kind of a quick description, but does that have any resonance for you? Do you have any interest in that?
I think that, so like, when you say finding the why, like, what's your purpose?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
What's your
that's
purpose in
very
life? Yeah, yeah. And he's got this amazing workbook, which I'll bring. And then to back that up, I thought we could put some work into getting, it's kind of like a multimedia motivational visioning tools. So you can think about that. Right now, I'm getting sort of a muted response. That might be because you're thinking about your weekend plans, or
I think because they have found their why.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the people here have their why,
Yeah. Can I just see a show of hands? Like, who thinks no? Yeah. So who thinks yes? That would be a good idea.
I'm down.
Oh, great. Okay, good. Yeah, I love his work. He's just great. Okay, so that's September. October, I'm so excited. Mark Kamau is coming from the BRIC. When Mark Zuckerberg came to visit Kenya, where did he go? He went to the BRIC. So they do amazing work. If you were here when Nivi came to speak, she came from the BRIC. They do high-tech stuff made in Africa for Africans, incredible high-tech work. And Mark is the head of, does anyone know UX, what that stands for?
Pass.
User experience. Yeah, user experience. So he's in charge at the BRIC of how people interface with things. Like, you can have a really great product or a really great service, but if people don't understand it or it's confusing, that's called user experience. So he's going to come talk to us. And then November, I'm not sure. We'll fill in those gaps. Like, some ideas are, Yogadishu. Speaking of powerful stories, Yogadishu had its world premiere here in Nairobi. That's where I met. So I'm like, you gotta come to my round. And it's all about this woman who teaches young people in Somalia yoga as a way to heal from trauma. So she said that she will come, if I can get her, if we can match schedules. She's Canadian Somali.
In what?
Yeah. And then I saw this incredible post about women fighting poaching in Zimbabwe, and like it's specifically women. And did you?
So I'm filming a project in South Africa with the ladies that started, the Zimbabwean ladies copied that, and they're called the Black Mambas.
Okay.
So I was there in December
Oh.
with an American producer and a director friend of mine, and we did this film to raise the funds. So we did kind of like a 4-minute teaser. And so like a lot of people have been telling this story.
Yeah.
They become famous, but everyone focuses on the conservation side, right?
Yeah.
So like you that like gender things. So what we did is, you know, like it's the same story. And like Nathaniel says, like you have to find the different story. So we decided to tell the story of the women themselves.
Yeah,
you know, like being a mother and all this.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen this online, these are women who are like on the front lines fighting poaching, and they are incredibly successful. And they weren't going to give them a chance, and so I just thought they would have an interesting story to tell from a learning perspective, if I can reach them. So maybe I have it in there, and I've been trying forever to get a hold. We've been missing each other. These guys who do peace tech stuff, so peace education using technology. So those are a few ideas. Also, a woman living in Zanzibar. She'll do a workshop for us on mobile learning or LMS, learning management systems, or Google Apps, or Moodle, or gamifying learning. She's great. She's really keen. She would do it virtually. Please let me know please give me your feedback, because I just want to know what you're interested in. I don't want to plan something if the interest is, so we're off for July and August. September 21st is our next one. Please, hopefully you can make it, be here in person or online. And that's a wrap, everyone. Thanks to everyone who participated online, especially Nathaniel's mom. Like, how cool is that?
Are you awake still?
It must be like 2 in the morning or something now, 3. And this video will be up in seconds. Literally, you click the button, finish, and it'll be you'll be able to watch it. So thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you so much for coming, and hope to see you in September. Bye, everybody. Bye.